2018 was a big year for gamers. Most players think of Fortnite, Ninja Flossing, or Red Dead Redemption 2. But did you know that 2018 was actually another year dominated by the retro gaming renaissance? Let's take a look at the top 10 reasons retro gaming ruled 2018.
Number 10. Super Mario dies.
The real-life Super Mario, also known as Mario Segal, passed away on October 27, 2018. Nintendo's Mario was actually named after Mr. Segal, and by default this had to make the list. Mario Segal was a private and humble man. He led a successful construction business and donated much of his life's earnings to charity. Not to mention, he never once sued Nintendo for using his name.
Number 9. The rise of retro game movies.
2018 led to a record number of retro game-based movie announcements and releases. For starters, in January 2018, we saw Nintendo officially announce a new Super Mario movie. The new animated title will be supervised by Mario creator himself, Miyamoto, as well as Illumination Entertainment, which is the same company responsible for the movie called Despicable Me. Mario is currently estimated to be in theaters by 2022. Unlike the previous disaster known as the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie, also known as the worst movie of all time, possibly even worse than the Double Dragon movie. Unlike that disaster, this time around, Mario's creator Miyamoto himself will play a role in its creation. Later in October, we received word that Capcom now also wants a piece of the retro movie pie, with the announcement of a Mega Man live-action Hollywood film. Since Mega Man debuted on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1987, the series secured its position as one of Capcom's major brands, boasting cumulative sales of over 32 million units worldwide. Capcom hopes this movie will appeal to a diverse audience, including not only game players but action movie fans as well. But let's not forget one thing. 2018 also gave us the release date of the new, highly anticipated live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I kid you not, live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Both a teaser trailer was released and a release date for the actual movie being November 8th, 2019. Exciting times are here. The movie has many critics currently mocking the visual style of the CGI-created Sonic character, but much is still unknown. The good news is, Sega themselves have been working with the movie creators conducting quality control to make sure only the best is released. And let's not forget, the movie Rampage released in April of 2018, starring none other than the legendary The Rock. Rampage was based on the video game of the same name, and the movie actually ended up taking in over $428 million worldwide and was considered a critical success.
Number 8. The Billy Mitchell controversy.
If you know the name Billy Mitchell, you're either old as balls or old school. Turns out 2018 was not a good year for Mr. Billy Mitchell, as he ended up getting his Donkey Kong World Record score removed from Twin Galaxies. But it also landed him a lifetime ban. Number 7. Brand new physical Super Nintendo and NES carts released in 2018. To celebrate Mega Man's 30th anniversary, Capcom went all out. Not only did they release the long-awaited Mega Man 11 and 2 new Mega Man Legacy collections, but they also released brand new special edition physical NES and Super Nintendo cartridges. These cartridges were based off of the legendary Mega Man 2 for the NES and the legendary Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo. Each game was limited to only 8,500 copies and sold for about $100 each. A little too high for my liking, but honestly, who could have predicted that Capcom would release a real NES game in 2018? Number 6.
The NES Maker.
2018 saw the funding and release of one of the greatest inventions since 1983, the NES Maker. Coding remains one of the biggest barriers between daytime dreaming video game producers and the real deal. This barrier has now been 100% eliminated. The NES Maker is a new device that allows anyone with zero coding required, regardless of game development experience, to create their very own Nintendo Entertainment System game and put that game on an actual NES game cartridge. Thanks to this device, there are now thousands more brand new NES games in development, and we will no doubt see many new homebrew games released for many, many years to come.
Number 5. The Return of Battletoads.
One of the very best NES games ever made to this very day is now being remade into what will no doubt become a future retro classic. Battletoads was announced at E3 on June 10th, 2018, and fans went wild. This is the first Battletoads game release in over 20 years. Over the last 5 years, Microsoft has been dropping hints that there might be a Battletoads game in development. This rumor started back in 2013 when Phil Spencer from Microsoft's Xbox team mentioned his fondness for Battletoads, while also asking the fans what rare games should be brought back for the Xbox One. Then, on November 10th, 2014, Battletoads was re-trademarked in the United States. Well, here it is. The game is currently scheduled to be released sometime in 2019 and is predicted to sell over 9,000 copies.
Number 4. New retro-style games rise to number 1.
A ton of retro-style games had unfathomed mainstream success in 2018. I'll be focusing on what I thought to be the top 3. Celeste, The Messenger, and Blood-Stained Curse of the Moon. In terms of sheer success, Celeste takes the cake at the number 1 spot. The game is best known as a super tight, handcrafted platformer from the creators of the multiplayer classic top-selling Towerfall. These reviews should sum up everything. The Messenger was also nominated as Best Independent Game during the 2018 Video Game Awards, losing only to the above number 1 Celeste. However, The Messenger did win the number 1 spot as the Best Debut Indie Game. The Messenger pays homage to the old NES Ninja Gaiden games. The main difference is how it combines both 8-bit and 16-bit sprites to create its own unique look. Third on the list was Blood-Stained Curse of the Moon, my personal favorite. It makes the top 3 as it was by far one of the best Castlevania games ever made, and by that I mean technically unofficial Castlevania game, as it's not technically a Castlevania game. Blood-Stained Curse of the Moon is an 8-bit style game promised as a stretch goal from the 2015 Kickstarter campaign for the upcoming 2019 release 2.5D version of Blood-Stained Ritual of the Night. What I love most about this game is how it stays true to the 8-bit NES style of Castlevania and is very much seen as the successor to Castlevania 3. BDS Allflex says it best, quote, "It goes to show that Castlevania is still a love series and games modeled after it are great opportunities for indie developers. Take note, indie developers, pay attention to this legendary reviewer off of Steam."
Number 3. Nintendo ROM sites get permanently shut down.
Nintendo sued 2 major ROM sites, Love ROMs and Love Retro, during the summer of 2018. Nintendo was originally seeking an estimated $100 million in damages. This was later led to several other major ROM sites removing all Nintendo ROMs for fear of being targeted next, also being sued for over $100 million. Ain't nobody want to get sued for that much money. So after so many years, why is Nintendo going after ROMs now? And why is this an important part in 2018 retro game history? Because it proves that the sheer popularity and value of retro gaming is at all-time highs!
Number 2. Mini Console Mania.
2018 saw every company and their mother trying to cash in on the mini console madness. Not only did we get a new release and promised mass production of the Super Nintendo and the NES Classic Editions, but many other classic names entered the scene. We even got classics such as the Commodore 64 Mini. Who would have saw that one coming? The C64 Mini was a 50% scaled down version of the classic home computer from the glory days of 1982. It is a very underrated console and was quite legendary for its time. The original Commodore 64 was one of the most successful home computers of the 80s and was listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest selling single computer model of all time. But let's not forget, we also got the mother of all mini consoles. You heard right, the rush to hell, cash money grab just in time for Christmas release of the ultimate PlayStation 1 Classic Edition. When it was first announced, they enticed us by listing a few good games, not too many, but just a few during the launch trailer. Fools like myself then pre-ordered not one copy, but 2 copies. One for me, one for my brother. I ain't no scalper. But then millions followed in my footsteps, and the disaster hit. Soon after, Sony announced the rest of the games, and they all sucked. Every single one of them. And on top of that, 45% of the games offered used slower, laggy as European PAL versions. Ain't nobody want no Mr. Driller or Cool Borders. We want Tomba, we want Legacy of Kain, we want Spyro the Dragon, we want Tomb Raider, we want Crash Team Racing. Hell, any Crash game. Where the hell is the mascot of the entire PlayStation 1 Crash Bandicoot? We want Medieval, Medieval 2. Hell, we will even take Parasite Eve, which you already put on the Japanese version. Hell yeah, we want Parasite Eve. And what's up with Twisted Metal 1? Why would you put Twisted Metal 1 on there? That game has not stood the test of time. It was legendary for its time, but man does that game suck today. Might as well put Twisted Metal 2 on there, maybe even 3, but 2 was an absolute classic, and it really was the game that set the standard for Twisted Metal games and really launched the hell out of the popularity of Twisted Metal in general. That game was one of the best PlayStation games of all time. I mean, the thing was off the chart. I'm sorry to say, I'm a big Twisted Metal 2 fan, and f you, Sony.
And finally, number 1. That's right, you guessed it. The greatest invention of all time, the Soldier console.
December 2018 saw the greatest retro console release of all time. Soulja Boy himself came out of retirement and blessed us with the Soulja game console. But not only that, he didn't stop there, because shortly after he blessed us again with the Soulja Boy Mini, which actually looked like a Game Boy, a regular Game Boy. It was pretty much a clone of the regular Game Boy. And then he didn't stop there. He released yet another greatest invention of all time, which he called the Soulja Boy Fuse, which looked exactly like an Xbox, to be quite honest with you. Pretty dang close. Yeah, pretty much 100%. But these were not just top-of-the-line empty shells, which some of you may have thought. They came preloaded with thousands and thousands of retro games, all of which Soulja Boy himself got the legal licensing rights to use, according to his Twitter account. Now, you know the retro game market is hot, and I mean hot, when the legendary rapper turned washed-up old-timer, desperate to make a few bucks from dropshipping off Alibaba and/or Alibaba Express, pretty much the same thing, enters the retro game market to sell, not 100 units, not 10,000 units, not 100,000 units, not 500,000 units. I'm talking 5 million consoles, according to one of Soulja Boy's tweets.
That's right, you heard me correct. I didn't say 5, I said 5 million units.
If Soulja Boy were to keep up the pace in sales, which he was well on his way, if he were to keep up the pace on how quickly he sold 5 million units of his ultimate Soulja consoles, he was on his way to sell over 500 million units. These consoles were rated to be over 9,000 times better than all mini consoles combined. But by the end of 2018, everything came to a screeching halt. That's right. Soulja Boy removed the sale of all consoles from his website. Right before 2019, he removed everything for unspecified, unknown reasons, which probably had nothing to do with being sued by Nintendo, because after all, he did have the licensing rights to each and every one of those retro games, according to his Twitter account, which he posted on his Twitter. Perhaps the mystery will one day be solved. But for now, 2018 will go down in history. This 2018. This will be known as the year the greatest retro game consoles of all time were released. And by the way, please don't forget to subscribe and help us grow this channel to over 9,000 subscribers. Please, I'm begging you. I'll pay you money. Please, I will. I'll do it.